This is the Osmo.com NHL DFS strategy show. I'm Jake Hari, and we've got a special guest on today, going to be a recurring guest, Michael Clifford, Slim Cliffy. You guys might know him from Twitter or back in the FanVice days. We're very excited to have him joining the show most Mondays whenever we've got a pretty good slate, and we do today. So what's going on, man? Excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. First show of the year. Like you said, I haven't been around since the old FanVice days, so things have changed a little bit in the last couple of years. Just like really excited to just talk hockey again. It's not the same. You can sit here with your spreadsheets and projections and everything, but unless you have people to talk and bounce ideas off of, it's not quite the same feeling.
Yeah, for sure. The community is, I think, what makes it. Obviously, we're all trying to make money and stuff, but always nice to tilt with people and hopefully win some money and chat and all that stuff. So yeah, we're really excited to have you. I know a lot of the premium subs were really pumped when they heard you were going to be joining us on some shows and doing the power plays a few days a week. Actually, let me pull up the power plays and post these in chat in case people missed them. If people are looking for NBA content, also we got our content schedule out. I was going to talk about that as well. Let's see what's going on here. Is the site down right now? That would be unfortunate timing. Yeah, it is down right now. But anyways, I'll post that in chat in a little bit. Yeah, I read your article today, and it looks like you're pretty ready for the slate. I think I am as well. Just want to talk about Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. I played on Yahoo yesterday during the all-day slate. I noticed it was going to overlay, so I put in a few dollars worth of entries, got a few more back out, and Yahoo is a great place to play daily fantasy sports, whether it's NHL. There's my email. That's probably not what you guys want to see. Whether it's NHL, DFS, NFL, NBA, I'm sure they've got some really nice contests. In fact, they do for NBA starting tomorrow. But yeah, Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, lower rake than what you're going to see on DraftKings and FanDuel. That's very important to your long-term ROI. And yeah, I think it is just an absolutely great place to play. Have you played on Yahoo at all, Cliffy?
No, because it was Canadians were excluded
That's right.
until literally like a month ago. So I was just scrambling so hard trying to get used to the new DraftKings scoring and then setting up for my FanDuel and everything else. So I just haven't even had time or even thought about it. But like I know guys that I talk to that are Canadians that play there, and they play almost every NHL slate. They absolutely love it.
Yeah. Football, it's been pretty cool too. They're adding a CSV edit, I believe, coming up in maybe this week or the next coming week. But I play NFL not super well usually, although yesterday ended up being okay. But yeah, so hopefully that'll add a different element to the Yahoo game over there. So I think pretty important for NBA DFS as well. CSV in the last few minutes of the slate with breaking news is huge in NBA DFS. Not as much in NFL, but if you're trying to get more volume down over on Yahoo, I think that's going to be a pretty cool feature that they're looking to add. And if you guys do sign up for Yahoo, make sure you use the promo code AWESOMO. That'll get you up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points, which is essentially cash over on Yahoo. The people in YouTube chat, maybe some people that aren't familiar with you, want to know where you're from.
From Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. So it's like the east coast of Canada. We're just north of Maine.
All right, there you have it. Yeah, they say you sounded Canadian. I don't know. They probably think I sound Minnesotan, even though I try my best not to. But yeah, Sharks are crying. I don't know. Not the last few days, Raj. I think the Sharks, as we'll go over in just a second. Actually, why don't we just do that now? We've got NHL lineup study up. This is an FC Pro feature, if you guys are not aware. I've got the Saturday slate pulled up. It was a pretty good one for the Sharks. The top 4 entries in the $40 were by people who had the max entries in the tournament. So you don't often see that. There's usually a single entry guy or a guy playing a few entries that sneaks up into the top 4 or 5. But some familiar names. I'm sure, Cliffy, you're aware of Testosterone and Slewfoot, Draft Charts. All these guys crushed. It was kind of a weird slate, but Testosterone had the nut line So not Tampa 1, actually. Tampa 1 was not his highest scoring line in this top entry he had. Only 2.8 points, Kucherov 12, and Stamkos had 13.5, so not a great outing there. But he got saved by Colorado 36 from Tyson Jost, Colin Wilson, and Compher were good compliments. All those guys at under a 0.5% ownership. So were you on them at all? I mean, I didn't even consider them.
No, I was on. I had quite a bit of Colorado 1 on that night, and it actually, and they did well. I think they had one full line goal and then another close, like 1 goal, 1 assist on the next one or something like that. So they actually carried me well. But like I was talking with a couple other guys, like you could have given me 1,500 lineups and I wouldn't have gotten a Colorado 3 on that slate. So I mean, that's why those guys are usually at the top of the tournaments, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think I ended up Xing them out. I usually don't like to get just like 1 or 2 shares when I'm playing 150 lineups of a line, even if it's like a line 3. And I think I ended up Xing them out. I got like 1 share maybe out of 150. So it probably wouldn't have mattered anyways, but that's like the ultimate MME play where you're just jamming in 3 threes like Testosterone likes to do. Does it with the best of them though. So we got to see him get his first big win. It looks like overall profit in this tournament was just over 20K. So even if you take out the top entry, he still did okay in a really top-heavy tournament. Slewfoot has been rolling out a little bit of a different lineup construction, a lot of 3-2-1, even on bigger slates for Slewfoot. Here, looks like Matthews, Andreas Janssen, and William Nylander, so the full Toronto 1 with Morgan Riley, another huge game from Riley, Brent Burns, and then actually this was a 3-3 stack as well. Beauvillier was with Del Cole and Brock Nelson. So I think this is just a classic 4-3-1 from Slewfoot, maybe a higher stakes thing where he's going more 4-3-1 and 3-3, and in the larger field tournaments, I've seen him do a lot of 3-2-1, and I think this was a 9-game slate. So I don't know. Have you studied any of these guys at all this season?
Yeah, I have. Like one thing I've noticed quite a bit is that a lot of the 3 stacks you're seeing, they'll only be from teams that are lines that are fully correlated on the power play. Like you were talking about the point line, that was one of them. You're talking who else was it on that night? There's a few lines on that night and on any given night that where all 3 players are perfectly correlated with the same power play unit. And what you're seeing is that's where the 3 stacks are coming from a lot, is you're not seeing broken power plays, guys not on the power plays. You know, that's where you'll see maybe like a 2-man stack or a 1-1, a forward and a defenseman or something like that. You're not seeing a lot of broken correlation stacks. At least I'm not. Maybe there's been some nights that I missed, but I'm not seeing a lot of broken correlation stacks up at the top. It's just usually there's just strong correlation, and then you're looking for, like I said, like pairs of wingers or a 2-1 with a defenseman or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fluid situation. I mean, we're still in the NHL season's infancy. It feels like it's going fast, but like we're still the most games a team has played so far is 10. We've had around 20 slates or so. I mean, who knows really what's going to happen? It looks like stacking has like the classic 3-3 and 4-3-1 has worked out a little bit better in the last week or so, whereas in the first few weeks I was just getting crushed running out a lot of 3-3s. So maybe just some variance, but definitely. I mean, we've got a little bit of extra time today with only 4 games. We were talking a little bit about the scoring, the new DraftKings scoring. Do you just want to tell people what you kind of think about that in general?
Yeah, I think that the way I approached this season was guys that shoot a lot and guys that block shots. Those, like, I approach it as those bonuses are going to be baked into their projections anyways, right? Like those are the guys that you would lean to for the bonus point or the bonus point bonuses on shots and block shots. I think where we're kind of losing sight of everything is, like I mentioned with the broken correlation stacks, is that what you want is as many, I know it sounds simple and it sounds kind of stupid, but you want your guys on the ice for as many goals as possible. And it's hard to do that when you're when you guys don't have the right correlation, when they're on different power play units, when they're not on the same power play unit. So I think, I came into the season kind of assuming that the shots and block shots would be baked into my projections, and they are to a degree, but I've had to go and adjust a few, like Nikita Zaitsev's just blocking everything like in sight, right? So kind of like I've had to do some manual adjustments. But I think the thing that, like I mentioned earlier, that I overlooked, and it's my mistake, and trust me, I paid for it dearly through the first 7 or 10 days of the season. I was kind of eschewing the 3-point bonus. Like I didn't really think it was as common as it is, but it is more common, especially now with the increase in scoring in the NHL, right? Like this year and then last year are the highest scoring seasons we've seen, basically in 25 years. So the prevalence of those 3-point games comes up a lot more, and you want guys obviously playing together both a 5-on-5 and the power play so that they can generate as many opportunities as possible so that they can all get those 3-point bonuses together. And I think that's something I overlooked, and it's something I corrected, and hopefully it leads to a little bit more success down the road.
Yeah, I think I've, along with the 3-point bonus, like I was thinking about that from like a stacking perspective, where on a big slate, you're going to have probably a couple lines that 2 or 3 of their guys, of their forwards, actually do hit the 3-point bonus. So it was going to make stacking, like at the very least, it was going to even out like stacking 3-mans compared to the shot, like trying to predict the one-off bonuses with guys like Patrick Kane and Kucherov and guys like that, Ovechkin, that are live for the 5-shot bonus. But what I didn't think about as much was like the defensemen that you don't think of, that are like highly priced, but you don't think of as like huge 3-point bonus guys. Like the guy I was mentioning in I think Testosterone's lineup was, or no, it was Slewfoot's lineup, Morgan Riley. He's had a couple 3-point games, and I wasn't really on him, but it was kind of a good spot. But he doesn't shoot as much as maybe like the Brent Burns type guys that are live for the double bonus, block shot and shot on goal bonus. But like he's got, playing on that offense, he's got as much upside as anyone with this new scoring bonus. So maybe that's one thing I'm going to take away from the first couple weeks, is just playing these highly priced defensemen. Letang's hit the 3-point bonus, I think, a couple times. John Carlson, too. So just looking to play more of those guys than even I was early in the season, I think is something I'm going to look to do.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've done less and less of is punt a defenseman. You know what I mean? Like, it's when you look at the new scoring, like even if you have a 3K defenseman, even if he goes out and donks a couple of assists, that's not really a great game. Like, it's fine. But if you have a 3K defenseman only gets you 10 points or something like that, it's not really enough to push you over the edge. Like, it's not a GPP winning play. Like, right. You need that defenseman to somehow luck into a 5-shot bonus or a 3-block bonus or something like that. So I find myself not using the 2,500 to 3,500 defensemen as often. Like, I'm still using them, obviously, especially part of like power play stacks and stuff like that. But I'm no longer just thinking, I'll just go in and punt Brian Dumoulin or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I find I'm at least paying 4K for at least 3,500 for my defenseman more often over 4K.
Yeah, same here. So I'm sure there'll be more stuff that pops up throughout the season, and we'll continue to look at the GPP winners and maybe even some of the losers on the shorter slates and see where people have gotten burned. But definitely an interesting start if you're talking about playing on DraftKings. And I know that's where both of us play a lot, so we'll continue to talk through the DraftKings scoring and just study what the pros are doing. I mean, you study what the successful people are doing and you try to be like them, and that's what we're trying to do here with this lineup study segment. So real quick, before we get into the games, we do have another Monday Night Football NFL giveaway going on. Same thing as the last few times you guys have heard me say it, but this is, everybody watching this that doesn't have an Osmo Plus package should be doing this. It takes a few seconds of your time, and you've got a pretty good chance at a $249 value. So what the giveaway is, if you guys haven't participated before, is that you can win a free 2019 NFL Osmo Plus package just by guessing the player who scores the most fantasy points in tonight's game. Maybe it gives you some stake in the game if you're not playing Showdown or something like that. And then all you have to do after that is retweet, like, and then, of course, hit us with your reply. player that scores the most fantasy points on Monday Night Football. It is Monday today. I think our graphic's incorrect there, but a few seconds of your time, and you can win up to a $249 value. Pretty good deal. Do you watch a lot of NFL? Uh-oh. I think we lost Cliffy.
I mean, I'll put.
No, you're good. You're good now.
Okay, sorry. No, I mean, like I'll watch the NFL. I have it on the background, but I don't write about it or play that much DFS. I'll throw in a few lineups, a few bucks on a Sunday, but that's about it. Like it's just baseball in the summer and then hockey in the winter.
Fair enough. I play like everything. It feels like, I don't know. I just use the tools on the site, and it had been rough for me. Probably user error more than anything, but use the ownership and the projections and all that stuff. And I've got a little spreadsheet set up for NFL, and usually my research starts Sunday morning, and just see how it happens. So it worked out yesterday, but I think I'm closer to even on the season, if I'm being honest, for NFL. But very, very entertaining, and we've got the tools for it, so I use it. Let's talk about the 4 games tonight. First game on the slate, and we do have the implied totals back. That was my error. I switched something in the spreadsheet, in the upload sheet, but anyways, they're back thanks to Eddie. Columbus, Toronto, 2.8 implied total for the Blue Jackets, 3.7 for the Maple Leafs. Jonas Korpisalo and Frederik Andersen in net here. We've got, actually, I think we've seen these lines one time before, but just to recap, no Tavares for the Maple Leafs for the next little bit. Kerfoot centering Marner and Ilya, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. This fellow right here up on the lineup builder. And then on the other side, Foligno slides up onto Columbus 1, Wenberg, Nyquist, Bjorkstrand, Columbus 2, and then Jenner, Anderson, Texier on that third line. I understand you've got a little bit of interest in Josh Anderson.
Yeah, he would have been in the power plays column if I knew if that was announced yesterday morning instead of this morning. He would have been in my power plays column for sure. Like, this guy's just a shot volume monster. Like, if you look at his numbers all through his career, really good rate stats. The problem with rate stats is he going to get enough actual minutes in the game? But Toronto is a high pace team. They like to push the pace. So at 40, if he was 5,300 or 5,500, I could say you could probably let him go. But at 4,300, I think it's tough not to put him, cash games, one-off GPP, pretty much anywhere you want to go. Like, this is, two or three games of what Josh Anderson can do, and he will be 5,500.
Yeah, he's a guy. Yeah, if you look at the per 60 numbers, a guy you have to like a little bit. Playing the second power play unit. What do you think we're going to see here for matching, if anything at all? Like, do you think they're going to go Matthews up against the Dubois-Atkinson line, or do you think they're just going to kind of roll lines here for Toronto?
Yeah, I think it's going to end up being Matthews. If you look at the game from Saturday night, it was the first game without Tavares. Matthews played over 23 minutes. It was his second most TOI in a regular season game of his career. So it's kind of pretty clear, how they're going to use him. It's a lot. You can't use a guy that much without matching him up against the opposing top line. So it does look like that's going to be the lineup. There's also a service I subscribe to. There's a guy, his name's Adam Daly. I write with him over at Dobber Hockey, and you can check out his Twitter account, @daily_frey, Frey. And what he does is he does lineup matching on a Google Doc. So you just subscribe to his Patreon, and he's meticulous about which coaches match which players and which lines against who. And he has Matthews pretty much, lock stock up against Dubois tonight. So that's the matchup I'm expecting. I don't think it really matters. Like, now that Tavares is out of the lineup, like, I don't think any of the lines are particularly that much better. Like, I think obviously Kerfoot's a little bit better defensively, but if Matthew can keep the puck in the offensive zone, then the defense doesn't matter, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So I think, we're going to see a lot of top line probably going up against each other. Based on what you just said, line matching a very important tool if you can do it yourself or find someone that can do it for you. So always something I like to mention. And I forget, I miss stuff a lot of the time because I try to go through all the box scores I can, but sometimes there's just not as much time as I would like in the day.
Well, it's hard, right? Like there's not really like a uniform reporting like
Right.
there is with baseball or something like that, right? So you're digging through, athletic articles and newspaper articles and tweets and, Instagram posts, wherever you can find any scrap of information. That's just kind of the way you have to do it when you play NHL.
Yeah, just a lack of information across the board, but that does provide an edge for people when you can get the line matching right, or the power play combinations right, or even the line combinations. It's just way better reporting in other sports. So for the people that do take the time and try to do that kind of stuff, that can be a massive edge when you're talking about DFS here. So where do you think the Matthews line, as far as stack, ranks for you on tonight's slate? Got to be top 3, right?
I mean, by raw points, I'm going to pull it up here real quick. By raw points, they're second on the slate for me. So, but, how high owned are they going to be? Like Matthews might push like 30% tonight, 40%? Like not the whole line. I'm just talking Matthews individually. Yeah. Like he's going to be just monster owned. So
we do have ownership now. So there we go.
Are they up?
Yep. So we just got ownership 15 minutes ago. Perfect timing. And you're basically right on the dot. We've got him at 34%, just over 34%. But like you mentioned, his line mates aren't going to be up there because not everyone does full stacks. People throw their cash lineup in there, and he probably should be in your cash lineup if you can make it work. Like Andreas Janssen and Nylander are both at least 10% lower than Matthews' projected ownership. So, yeah.
Yeah, so like they're going to be pretty widely owned. And one thing too, I'll say just on Janssen, he left the last game after blocking a shot, and they're saying he's fine, he's going to play tonight. But we've seen guys say they're going to play and then get to warm up and then something happens, right? So just keep an eye on warm up. Mm-hmm. He should play, but it's just one of those just in case things. So like what I find myself doing with Toronto, I find myself kind of going down the lineup and more looking at one-offs. Like Trevor Moore is a guy that I love as a one-off here tonight, because I think once you get into the depth of Columbus, particularly once you get past their top defenseman, especially once you get down to that third pair, I think they can be exploited with speed. And Trevor Moore is a guy that I think makes for a great one-off. And I think another good one-off is Mitch Marner. He's super expensive. But a lot of people, they're just going to avoid him, right? Because John Tavares isn't there. His line mates aren't on the power play. So, if you have a cheap line that you like, using the Austin Matthews and then throwing Marner on top of that, just going for the full power play stack, like I don't really hate that. But I will say, I'm not doing that personally. Like I am using Marner as a one-off. I'm not using him in a stack with Matthews. Okay. It is viable, but I'm not doing it. And I'll say that because those two teams were two of the least penalized teams in the NHL last year. And it looks like they're trending in that direction again this year. So we might not see more than like 6 combined power plays in this game. So relying too heavily on power play stacks is not something I think I'm going to do on this slate. Not in this particular contest anyway.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree with that. So yeah, Marner's super expensive, makes for more of a contrarian play if you wanted to hook him up with Kerfoot or something like that. If you were stacking, I am running out some 3-2-1, so I think I'm going to have a few Kerfoot Marner stacks and more just rely on the even strength stuff or the even strength correlation here. How about on the Columbus side? So we've got, like I mentioned, Dubois, Atkinson with Foligno on the top line. Columbus has a propensity to switch up their lines mid-game if things go south early. Is there anyone you feel comfortable playing in a stack here on Columbus?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough, right? Like I've no interest in the Wenberg line, like Wenberg, Nyquist, and Bjorkstrand. Like if you want to use like Nyquist or Bjorkstrand as a one-off, like I understand that. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't stack the line. We say Wenberg doesn't shoot, and then sure enough,
scores.
Last game he scored in the first period. But like Wenberg doesn't shoot, he's not a goal scorer. So really like Nyquist can be a goal scorer, but he's not like a huge volume guy. Bjorkstrand, I don't think anybody really knows like what he is yet. Is he going to be a playmaker? Is he going to be a goal scorer? Like he hasn't really kind of made a name for himself as to what style like he's going to be. So it's just not a line that I feel good about using. The Jenner line, I mean, Texier was supposed to be really good. He hasn't really looked good since the regular season started. Like he was fine in preseason, hasn't been good in the regular season. It's super cheap. I mean, it's one of those stacks. Like if you want to use the Tessier line with Jenner and Anderson, that'd be something that I'd use with Colorado 1, right?
Yep. That's
So
exactly. Yeah.
right. So like that type of expensive stack, like that's where you go. Other than that, like there's no real need to use them. So for me, it's kind of top line or bust. But I think like I'm not going to have a lot of Columbus in this game. I think my first run out of 20 lineups that I had them in 4. But like I don't even feel that good about it because I really don't like having Foligno on that line. I really don't think he brings a lot of offense. I think you're almost he's on a different power play unit. It looks like I think I'm fine leaving him off and just doing like Dubois, Atkinson, Werenski. You know, a 3-man. Like I'm fine leaving Foligno off that stack. And out of the 4 lineups that I have him, I only have him in 2 of them. So
yeah, that's fair. I like the Dubois, Atkinson, Werenski stack. They skate a lot with the top line at 5-on-5 too. So if we're not relying on a lot of power play opportunities here, I think that's a pretty good call. For me too, it's probably first line or bust, but the line I'm getting the second most exposure to on the Columbus side when running 150 is actually the Jenner line. And some of that is just Jenner one-offs or Anderson one-offs, but I'm also doing 2-mans with them. And then I will have, like you mentioned, when I'm going to a Colorado 1 or someone like that in some MME builds or, you know, one of the Vegas lines that's expensive, they're not a bad filler stack, I think, getting the depth of Toronto. So,
well, here's the thing with that line too is Jenner and Anderson are both shot volume guys, right? But the only thing that worries me is, are they going to have enough ice time that they can both get there? Probably not. Can one of them get there? Probably. Are they going to get enough points to pay off? I don't know. Like that's the only thing is like they're both kind of the same player, and then with Tessier really not looking good so far this year. Like that's a line for me where I'd rather have Jenner as a one-off in a stack or Anderson as a one-off in a stack or something like that than stack the whole line as a threesome.
Yeah, that's a good point about the ice time too. Looking at what Jenner's had his last few games, 13 and a half, 15 and a half, 15, 12, 13 and a half. I mean, it's not great, even for a third line. So when you're taking away the expected power play opportunities here compared to some of these other games, it does make it tough to play this third line. So strictly just a filler for me. How about defensemen on either side? We've got the 2 big guns for Columbus, Werenski, Jones paired up together. Those guys take the majority of the power play quarterbacking duties. And then $6,700 Morgan Riley, Tyson Barrie for $4,700. Any of these guys pique your interest?
I mean, honestly, I have interest in all 4 top Toronto defensemen. Like CC's a guy, like he's a threat for the combo meal, right? Like he's not typically a big shooter, but he has put up big shooting games before. And obviously, like he blocks a lot of shots, even though he's not. I don't think he's blocking nearly as many this year, but he typically does. Jake Muzzin, he's leading. As I posted this morning in my article, he's the one that's actually leading their blue line in ice time at 5-on-5. It's just that he got the boot off the second power play unit, which is kind of unfortunate. So you're really relying on shot and block shot production from him. And then Tyson Barrie, like he's another combo meal threat as well. So like I have interest in all 4 guys, and I hate saying that. But if I had to pick one, like Muzzin's the guy that I'm going to pick because like I think he does get the ice time. He's the one that'll be blocking the shots. And I think they're going to have to rely on like you're noticing that CC and Riley really aren't getting the minutes that they were through the first few games in the season. And I think that's Mike Babcock slowly coming to the realization that Riley and CC can't play lock, shot down minutes every single night, every single shift. So they're going to slide a little bit more to Barrie and Muzzin. And I think we're going to keep seeing their ice time increase. So it'd probably be between the 2 of them, and with Muzzin being cheaper, I'll go with him in my builds tonight.
That's fair. It's not a great night for spending up for defensemen, so I'm actually getting to more Riley than I anticipated. I would like to limit how much I get him as a one-off because I think a lot of his upside is tied to Matthews and Nylander and Andreas Janssen. I like Barrie as a one-off a little bit. I'm getting to about 10% of him. I think that's going to be higher than what we have him projected at. Just wanted to check quick on the ownership for Columbus's top line here and see if they're getting. I mean, yeah, they're around 10%. That's pretty low for a 4-game slate. So,
yeah, they're not going to be widely owned, right? Like a lot of people will chase the Vegas totals. And if I'm not mistaken, they have the lowest, or not the second lowest.
I think they're second behind Ottawa.
Second behind. Yeah, you're right. So there won't be a lot of people on them. So people that do stack Columbus tonight, you're going to get pretty good ownership. Like you said, you're going to get pretty good ownership from them for a 4-game slate.
Yeah, I like it. Don't usually talk about goalies too much here, but do you like any goalies? What's your take on playing goalies on DraftKings? Do you like to correlate? Do you like to try to handpick guys that are going to see a lot of volume, or what's kind of your deal here?
I mean, generally, I do like to correlate, but I don't necessarily correlate with an entire stack. Like often, I'll just have them as a one-off defenseman. Like I think I have Hudobin in a couple lineups right now, one-off, and then a one-off Klingberg with them. So that's kind of the only correlation I look at. I don't really look at them, if I have a 4-man stack, I'm not like, oh my God, I have to get the goalie in. That's not the way I approach it. And yeah, I definitely look for volume against. I started doing that like a couple years ago, like well before the new scoring system came in, just because you get cheaper goalies, you get them at way lower ownership, and as long as they didn't get pulled,
yep,
you were probably going to be okay. Like maybe you wouldn't have a great night, like in the old scoring, maybe you'd only have 2 DraftKings points, but as long as they didn't get pulled, as long as the volume was there, you'd be fine. So yeah, like I usually play a lot of road goalies. People will always hammer the home goalies because the home goalies are usually the favorites. So I'll play a lot of road goalies, especially road goalies that are looking to get a lot of volume against.
I like the call, especially with the new scoring with the 35 save bonus. If you do get there, this is as good of a chance as anyone tonight for Korpisalo to get to this bonus. So as long as he avoids disaster early, maybe only gives up goal or hopefully no goals in the first period, I think you're going to be pretty good for a sub 7K goalie, especially when you're looking for raw points on a shorter slate from that position. So let's go to Vegas and Philadelphia. We've got a 3.3 implied total for the Golden Knights, 3.1 for the Flyers. Oscar Dansk going for Vegas. Brian Elliott for the Flyers. Premier matchup here at the goaltending position. We've got some new Flyers lines. Couturier, Lindblom, and Travis Konechny on that shutdown second line. Giroux, Van Riemsdyk, and Voracek on the top line. Bad news about them is that they're 3 wingers. The good news, if you are looking to play them, though, is that they're going to be lower owned as a stack. Do you think we see anything for line matching here with Vegas's balanced, just deep top 6?
Yeah, I would say Couturier is going to be lined up against the Vegas top line. Okay. That's the way, like the guy I mentioned earlier, Daily, this way he has it shaking out, and I agree with that. So that'll make me avoid the Vegas top line. I don't want to match up against Couturier. It's one of the worst matchups in the NHL. Like he's just an elite 2-way center. And I actually think like with Konechny and Lindblom there, it'll actually help him out defensively as well, as opposed to Giroux. So like I'm all out on Vegas 1 tonight. Like I'm not playing them at all. So that's what I'd expect, and I'd expect Giroux to see a lot of the 3rd and 4th line, maybe a little bit of the 2nd line.
Wow. I didn't even think there would be a hard match, but if that's the way you guys are seeing it, then that could make for an interesting wrinkle to the slate. Let's see ownership. I want to see if there's a gap between the Carlson line and the Stastny line. Looks like Carlson line a little bit high, more heavily owned, although not a huge gap between the two. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Couturier line, the numbers with these 3 guys together, if you look on like Natural Stat Trick or something, I think they're pretty wild for this season and going back to last year. He's just a guy, yeah, I think I would like to avoid him if I could. So you're looking more at Vegas' second line here. I mean, they're really expensive compared to some of these other lines tonight. They're flirting with almost 20K.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's like, if I was going to pick a Vegas line, it would be the second line. Obviously, like I just want to avoid that Couturier matchup altogether. So if I was going to pick a line from the Vegas side, it'd be the second line. But I like that Couturier line here tonight. We talked about the stats, like how good that line is. We got a bunch of them playing together on the same power play unit, if I'm not mistaken. Like all three of them are expected to play on the same power play unit. So you get that perfect correlation. I don't think it's going to be a really popular spot either. I mentioned the Couturier line in my power play article. The line did change, but I'm fine with this lineup combination. So I'm still going to be going with that. I'm going to be going with the second line on both sides in this game, I think.
All right, fair enough. I like the call on both sides. Couturier grades out really well for me, just from a matchup perspective. It's not like there's an easy matchup against Vegas really with these top two lines, but I do like. Uh-oh, did we lose Cliffy there for a second? I think we might have. So the three wingers does make it interesting for me to stack up because just not a lot of people are going to have the full stack. So you're still getting. Are you back with us? I think you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't. My internet's just cutting out for some reason.
No, all good. So I was just talking about the three wingers for the Flyers top line. I think I don't need to make a major stand on them to get unique lineups with them when I'm playing 150 because not a lot of people are going to have the full stack because people hate stacking up three wingers. Then you got to figure out a one-off center or some sort of power play stack, or you got to go 3-2-1. So I don't mind playing some Philly 1. Probably going to lower my exposure to the Carlson line a little bit and up it to the Stastny, Pacioretty, Stone line after the show. I was getting to a little bit more of the Carlson line before, but I would like to flip-flop that and get more Stastny, Pacioretty, and Stone. It's always a guessing game for me between those two, especially when they're on home ice. But if we think we're going to get a hard match on one of them, it makes it a little bit easier. And then Shea Theodore is the guy I like to pair with really either of the top two lines, but especially with the Stastny line because he's supposed to be on the power play unit with them. Any defenseman you're looking at on either side, really? $2,700 John Merrill or Provorov, Gostisbehere?
I mean, John Merrill was the guy that I know I just talked about how I don't like to punt defensemen super hard, but a 2,700 John Merrill, if you're going to stack with that, if you're going to do a power play stack, then including him, I'm fine with that. So he'd be one. Provorov is the guy that I'm really looking at. He didn't really, he had a good season a couple years ago, had a pretty bad year last year, and looks to be kind of the Provorov we expect again this year. He's not blocking as many shots, but he is a threat for the 3-shot block or 5-shot bonus on any given game. There aren't really a lot of defensemen that could say that, but he is a threat and priced under 5K. Really, I mean, it's not a great matchup, but you only have 4 games to pick from. Beggars can't really be choosers, and I think that Provorov has shown us in the past, and the way that he's looked so far this year, I think he's going to end up. I think right now I have him in 15% of my lineups, and that's probably about where he'll sit. That's kind of where I am on him.
Wow. I don't think projection systems have really caught up to him. He's because I wasn't getting him a ton using our projections on the site, so maybe you have to give him a couple thumbs up. The minutes are there, like you mentioned. The what did you call it? The combo meal? Is that I like that?
The combo meal.
I really
5
like
shots
that,
and 3 blocks, baby.
The 5 shots and 3 blocks. So I'm gonna start stealing that one from you. Any defenseman that can go out there and get you the double bonus, the combo meal, I think is one you should be considering, especially if you're multi-entering. So I'm going to get more exposure to Provorov, I think, after the show is over. Gostisbehere is kind of the optimizer play. He's the guy that's going to grade out as a little bit of a better value for us as well. The shots have been there a little bit recently. 10 shots on goal in his last 3 games when he wasn't shooting at all the first few games of the season. So if that's going to keep up and he's going to play on the top power play with a pretty talented unit, Vegas is they, I think, are top 5. No, they're 4th in times shorthanded this season, 35 times in 9 games. So pretty bad pace for Vegas. If I remember correctly, last year they weren't one of the more penalized teams, so maybe it's just a little bit of a blip on the radar. But kind of like both Gostisbehere and Provorov here, and probably will ignore Niskanen as much as I can for 3,300.
Yeah, I was looking at the TOI for the Flyers defenseman, and it looks like it almost seems they're only playing 3 defensemen now, and Provorov's at the top of that list, right? Like Sanheim's seeing his minutes cut, Niskanen seeing minutes cut. Like a lot of those guys are only playing 15, 16, 17. You know, just on seeing, if I'm not mistaken, is around 20 minutes or a little less. Like they're not really seeing big minutes. Like Provorov is getting a lot of minutes. And that's a big reason why I like him, is because I think you can rely on him for 23 or 24 minutes. I don't think there's any other defensive team you can say that about.
I like the call. Dansk or Elliott at 7,200, Dansk 7,400. Do you have strong feelings about either guy, or is it just?
I'm just not playing. Like the reasons I'm more excited to use Philly now is because Dansk is starting. I don't think he's a good goalie whatsoever. There's a reason he's not in the NHL, right? And like, when's the last time he had a good season? 4 years ago. Like, I think that he's past his prime as well. Like, I think Vegas is good enough defensively that could be concerns about shot volume, and I think the Flyers are better defensively than people give them credit for. So I think there are shot volume issues on both sides here. And I don't want to roster a goalie where I think there's only going to be 25 or 26 shots, because then a 3-goal game and you're just ruined.
Yep, I'm right there with you. None of these guys coming up a ton for me outside of when I'm forcing correlation and stacking one of the other two teams. So I'm going to have really flat exposure to goalie, as I usually do. I guess if I have to choose one, I think maybe Elliott could see a little bit more volume. But Philly's been a pretty good defensive team so far this season, so I'm not even sure how I feel about that. I don't think I'll get any goalie above like 20% tonight when I'm running 150. Let's go.
Yeah, see, I approach goalies a little bit different too. Like I don't really spread out my exposure.
Oh, you don't?
Like huge. Like no. Like I'll probably have 2 goalies rostered tonight.
Wow.
Like I'll probably go 50-50. Yeah, I know a lot of people like to spread out exposures, but I don't. It's just I find I like to key on the goalies that are going to get the volume, hope for the best, because I think people kind of chase the home favorite too much, and they pay $8,300 for a guy that's only going to see 26 shots or something like that. Like, and then they're going to go pay $8,100 for another guy that's only going to see 27 shots, and then they're going to pay $7,900 for another guy that's only going to 28 shots, and it's just you're paying the same goal just $100 cheaper. Like I don't understand the reason for doing it than just in the name of trying to spread your exposure. So I used to spread my exposure around. I've started doing that a lot less. I'll probably on big slates I'll have 3 or 4 different goalies. Smaller slates like this I'll have 2.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, and if you only have 20 lineups, I would like to get heavier exposure on certain guys. Do you only play the 20 max,
right,
or do you play those in larger field tournaments too?
No, it's just in the 20 max. I'll throw lineups in. I don't like to play the 150. Like I hate editing my articles, and hate editing lineups, and I just don't like sitting there having to just pour through 150 lineups. It's just not for me. I can do well enough with 20 lineups, so it's just less aggravation. I'm just trying to minimize my aggravation. That's all.
For sure, yeah. It's all about having fun anyway. So and make it a little bit of money.
Exactly.
All right, let's go to Colorado and St. Louis. We've got Philip Grubauer going up against Jordan Binnington. 2.8 implied total for the Avs, 3.2 for the Blues. Nothing super alarming as far as line changes that I'm seeing here, except for Alex Steen moves up to the second line. I think Sammy Blais was up there for a while. So it's going to be O'Reilly, Perron, and Steen on the second line, at least to start with. What do you like here? The six total game. Anything sticking out to you?
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Steen on that second line, that's for sure. I mean, we were talking about him earlier in our Slack, and like this guy just hasn't Steen just hasn't been good, like the normal Alex Steen, the guy that can score 20, 25 goals, put up 60 points. He hasn't been that guy in a few years now. So what that says to me is that they're putting Steen on that line, and they're going to make that a really defensively responsible line, especially for this game with Colorado coming in town. Like, I think you're going to see them getting just super hard matched against the Colorado top line.
Yep.
So that kind of makes me not want to use, like, I had the St. Louis second line written up in my Power Plays article when I thought Robbie Fabry would be there. But with Steen there, that tells me that they're going to be, defensive zone faceoffs. They're going to be jumping over the boards whenever the McKinnon line's on the ice. I think they're going to be just responsible for their own end, and that's not going to lead a lot for the offense. So for me, it would either be dipping down to the third line, which I don't think is really necessary unless you're stacking them with the Colorado top line. I don't know why you do that. So for me, it's going to be about the St. Louis top line in this game. I think as of right now, they're my heaviest exposure tonight.
Yeah, they're going to be up there for me as well. I think pretty tough to avoid them, especially if they're going to see limited time against the McKinnon line. So I kind of like, I'll play the McKinnon line some, and especially if we're talking about like one-offs, just because I think the shot bonus is in play for McKinnon, and you could go 1 or 2 man with McKinnon, Rantanen, or Landeskog. So when I'm doing 3-2-1s, they're just going to pop up because they always project on a raw points basis. And then I kind of like the second line for a full stack, the Kadri line, just hopefully seeing the softer matchup against St. Louis lines 1 and 3. And then on the other side, going back, I agree on the Schenn, Schwartz, Tarasenko line, fully correlated. Colorado was one of the more penalized teams last season. This season, I don't think they're up there yet, but it's early. So this one's actually pretty straightforward for me. Probably not going to get too much of the O'Reilly line. Going to have limited exposure to Colorado 1. It's just too expensive for what I'm trying to do tonight. And there's not really a great defenseman to pair with Colorado either. So if you're just trying to stack up the power play and hope St. Louis takes a bunch of penalties, I guess you would go Sam Girard. But him and Makar, I guess they got switched up on the power play last game, mid-game. Do you think that's going to stick, or is this just an experiment?
Yeah, I think it's going to stick. If I'm not mistaken, they ran that in practice yesterday as well. So, I mean, at least we can expect that to start the game today. Whether, that's how they finish the game, that's another story. But I will say the one thing I do like about Colorado tonight, we were just talking about the winger line for Philadelphia. McKinnon and Kadri, if you want to, you can use them as a pair of centers, both on the power play, pair them up with Girard, and there's your problem solved for your 2 centers. If you're using the 3 winger line from Philadelphia, I'm not doing that. I'm not using that Philly line. It's just an idea. And people are kind of busted for trying to figure out which 2 centers they're going to use tonight. It's just they're on the same power play unit. That's all.
Yeah, I tried to force in a couple Philly 1 stacks. Full stacks, and that was a combo that I got to a couple times, so I like the call. Anything else you want to mention in this game for defensemen? Pietrangelo expected to be on the second power play unit. He's 6,300. For me, it's like I would rather just get up to, or I'd rather play Seth Jones or Werenski, or get up to Riley, or in the next game we'll talk about Klingberg. I just think there's better spots than Pietrangelo if he's not going to be on that top power play for 6,300. And then Schultz, Falk, 4,200. No Pittsburgh on the slate. No Justin Schultz. I don't have to deal with him tonight. Vince Dunn expected to power play the top unit. Minutes are always a question with him. What do you got for the defenseman here?
Yeah, that's, you mentioned Dunn, and I want to use him. Like, he's a guy I love. Like, I think he's a really, really good puck-moving defenseman, but if he's only playing 16 or 17 minutes, I mean, that's why he's priced at, I think it's 3,100 or 4,000, right? Like, he's not a guy that I would use as a one-off. He was a guy I would use in a power play stack, right? Like, it's kind of that Morgan Riley situation that you hear. Like, Vince Dunn isn't going to go off unless that power play unit goes off.
Yep.
I don't think that's optimal. One guy that I do kind of like tonight is Eric Johnson. He's another one of those combo guys. I think he already has 3 shot block bonus games this year and 2 5-shot bonus games this year. And look, when he's been healthy in recent seasons, he has had a lot of injury issues, but when he's been healthy, he's been the type of guy that can put up near 2 blocks a game and 2 shots a game. And there's not a lot of defensemen that can do that. So I imagine Girard's going to be popular tonight for Colorado. I think some people are still going to be on Makar. If you want to use a Colorado defenseman that nobody's going to be using that has that double bonus threat and possibility, it's Eric Johnson, and he's priced pretty cheap. I think he's only 42 or 4,300 on DraftKings.
Yeah, 4,300. Pretty good. Pretty good contrarian play, especially everybody will pair Colorado 1 with the cheaper Sam Girard for 3,600, but that might be a guy that skates some at even strength and can kind of reach those bonuses on his own. Doesn't have to rely as much on Colorado 1 generating a bunch of goals to actually be worth it. So $4,300. I usually just what I do for defensemen is usually just focus on the guys playing the top power play or the power play, but there are guys that I sometimes miss out on, like Johnson for 4,300. This is a pretty good spot where he could block a bunch of shots. I think anytime Colorado plays on the road this year and he's priced this way, that's probably a pretty good play to be contrarian. All right, let's go to the last game of the night, and this is the one this is kind of like a turbo slate, so I like this. All the games start within an hour and a half of each other, and this is going to be tilting for a number of different ways. We've got the Senators and the Dallas Stars, 2.5 implied total for Ottawa, 3.5 for Dallas. Anders Nilsson going up against Anton Khudobin. New lines for Dallas, so we'll probably be saying that a ton this season. Tyler Seguin with Pavelski and Jason Dickinson, at least to start the game, is what we're expecting. Rupe Hintz with Jamie Benn and Corey Perry. That line had some success last game. New lines for Ottawa as well. JGP with Brady Tkachuk and Connor Brown. I think you mentioned there's something weird with the middle six for Ottawa. Some of the sites had it wrong.
Yeah, there's some of the lineup sites they had, I don't know if it was old information or out of date information or what it was, but they had I think it was Colin White on the wrong line. They still had him on the second line, replacing Chris Tierney. But in practice yesterday, this is what they ran. They ran Tkachuk, Pajot, and Brown on the top line, Duclair, Tierney, Nemesnikov on the second line, and Bobby Ryan, Colin White, and Tyler Ennis on the third line. So that's what they had in practice yesterday. So that's what we're expecting today. If you use a lineup service, you might see something different. So just kind of check that. And check your power plays as well, because the power play units that they were running were Tkachuk, Duclair, White, and Ennis with Shabbat. And then Pajot, Brown, Nemesnikov, and Ryan with Brandstrom. So if you're using Ottawa tonight, just double check your lines, especially if you're using Cruncher. If you're not using our Osmo Cruncher, if you're using just the regular one, you might have to change the lines in the power play units on those.
Yeah. So, there's 8 teams on the slate, right? So you can't just X out Ottawa. I think it is a decent power play spot too. So you want to make sure you have those line combinations correct. Dallas is taking a bunch of penalties to start the season. So it might be a way to get guys at some lower ownership. I like Tkachuk anyways for 5,600, just a guy who's going to put pucks on net. So that's the guy I'm targeting the most on the Ottawa side. Don't even mind that Pajot is centering him, but Dallas is popular, as they should be. I mean, one of the highest totals on the night. Sagan is the second highest owned guy on the slate, to no one's surprise. Khudobin, very popular, most popular goalie on the slate. Actually, a little bit lower than what I expected for some of these forwards. It looks like the top line, Tyler Seguin and Joe Pavelski, those guys are going to be popular, hovering around 20% or so, depending on your tournament. People will leave off Dickinson, and then the second line, let's see where Rupe is at. Yeah, he's not as popular, about half the ownership as Dallas won. So what do you like on the Dallas side? Is this a Josh Stack situation? We're just loading up all the forwards, or what are we doing here?
I mean, I'm definitely not Josh stacking the stars tonight. So I want to say something about Dallas real quick. They weren't a good team last year. Like if you look at their shot share metrics, they were like 22nd in the NHL, like just ahead of Edmonton. Like it was not a good team. They were a slow team. They did what the Islanders did. They dragged down the pace of the game to a crawl, and then relied on very good goaltending to win games. That's what they did. And they were like a 47% shot share team or 48%, which isn't very good. And then this year, they're not very good again. Now, again, they're only 10 games into the season, but they're at like a 46% shot share. It's like, I think their shots for are the second lowest in the league, like per 60 minutes. So, like, this was a team that was bad, we'll say below average last year, and they're bad this year. And all they did in the offseason was add a 36-year-old Joe Pavelski and a broken down Corey Perry. So I think like we have to. I know it's only 10 games, and you don't want to rely on shot metrics for just 10 games. But given what we know about Dallas over a full season last year and what they've shown this year, and their reluctance to really do anything of substance in the offseason, like I think we have to allow the possibility that they're just a really bad team. Like, and I mean that. Like, I think we have to allow the possibility that even though, and I think this is something that could be coach driven. I think it could be a situation like St. Louis where if this team doesn't do well through 6 weeks, they're going to fire the coach and they can turn it around. Like the talent is there to do that. So maybe this is coach driven, but the fact is that it's happening. Like I think we have to allow that this is a bad hockey team. So I'm not as hyped on Dallas tonight as other people. Like I view them almost the same that I view Ottawa. Like I don't really see a big difference between the two teams right now. I don't think this is a good team. So the lineups where I lost tonight, I don't have Ben Radulov with Klingberg out of my 20 lineups, and then that's it. I don't. This is a very good team. I don't want to stack them. I think we could see their lines changing 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the game, which they've been doing almost every game.
Let's see. Did we lose Cliffy there again? I think we may have lost him again. His take, his Dallas hot take, maybe a little bit too hot. But no, I think I agree. Yeah, I was just saying. I think I agree with what you're saying. Like, what has Dallas really done to deserve being chalky? They're not as chalky as I thought when we came out with ownership projections. So they're going to be flirting, like this Sagan Pavelski combo is going to be flirting with where Matthews is at and his line mates. So it's not overwhelming chalk. So I'm a little bit more apt to play it. There's a running joke with the people that watch the stream and the premium Slack and stuff, how I always recommend playing Dallas, and I always play Dallas, and I always lose. So this seems like a spot where I'm probably going to lose some more money on Dallas. I just don't really know how to avoid them. Like if you use projections and you put any weight into Vegas, 3.5 implied total for some of these prices you're saying. I mean, yeah, Tyler Sagan 7,200, but then where else are you not getting value here? So if there's ever a time where they could carry play, like this would be the time, right? Against this bad Ottawa team, they're on the road. Anders Nilsson in net. They're just terrible defensively. Maybe they actively try to slow the pace down. Dallas says I don't know why they would be trying to do that with some of the players they have on their team, but they did that for all last season and they were really disappointing. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is playing a lot of Dallas with a bunch of lineups, but I certainly understand why someone would want to get away from this team because playing, especially if you think it's a bad team, playing bad or mediocre teams as heavy chalk is usually something you want to fade, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the biggest reason for our play stack because Ottawa does take a lot of penalties and they have a bad penalty kill. So, and like Dallas has a ton of talented players. So if there's anywhere where they can make hay, I think, a couple power play goals is very possible here tonight. So that's why I do have outright power play stacks. But I'm not going to stack even strength lines. I'd rather look at the other side and use like a pairing of like Pajot and Kachuk or something like that. You know what I mean? Because I think I think everybody's going to be avoiding Ottawa and everybody's going to be on Dallas. And I don't think there's nearly enough daylight between the two teams right now to justify the ownership difference. I really don't, especially when you factor in the price.
Yeah, you're probably going to be on the right side of history on this one. And I'm just going down with the ship.
Well, one of us is going to lose some money tonight, man.
Oh, man. If this were a bigger slate, maybe I could find a way to get off of them. But they just project so well. So, if you guys do want to fade Dallas, which I don't think, it's never a bad idea to fade a really chalky team. Or maybe you just play the second line. I guess Hintz and Perry together on the second power play. Hintz has been really good. Really the only Dallas player that's done much of anything. Or like the power play stack, the top power play stack, like you mentioned. Ottawa takes a couple penalties. Got Klingberg, Ben, Sagan, Radulov, some combo of those guys maybe the play here, because the thing with Dallas too, which makes them frustrating to stack, is their even strength lines get broken up so much in game. So I think what you could do also is just play the players are good on Dallas. So play Sagan with Pavelski and Radulov and run your stacks out like that, or Ben instead of Radulov or something like that. We're probably going to see at some point Sagan with Ben and Radulov at 5-on-5 if this game is close. Like, it just happens all the time. They're the most tilting team to look at box scores when you're looking on natural stat trick, because there's just no uniformity, like, game to game with how they run things.
I mean, it's basically like even money that Radulov's on Sagan's line by the third period.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah. Like like you said, it happens all the time. So that's another reason why I don't like them. And like, how fast are they going to change the lines if Ottawa jumps out to a quick 1-0 or 2-0 lead or something like that? You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's just kind of where I stand. If this is the game where Dallas goes off, then I'm ready to go down swinging. I'm ready to go down without any heavy Dallas shares. But like I said, I am gonna power play stack them. But I'm just not stacking even strength lines.
Yep, that's probably a pretty good plan, especially if you're dealing with limited lineups for anyone watching this. Favorite value stack of the night, and then we'll kind of get out of here.
I mean, it depends how cheap for value you want to go. But I like the pairing of Nemestikov and Duclair. Duclair's he's a guy that when I look at a slate, I like there's a handful of players that I identify that have what I'd like to say. I don't want to say it's like breakaway speed, but they can create their own offense and they can create their own goals. Like Andreas Athanasiou from Detroit is like that. Michael Grabner in Arizona is like that. Trevor Moore, who's on tonight's slate, and I mentioned him earlier in the show, he's like that as well. Anthony Duclair is a guy that fits into that category for me. He has a lot of skill and he has speed. It just seems like he has a tough time putting it together, but on the games he does, those can be huge. And if you look at Nemestnikov's ice time since he came over from the Rangers, I believe, in the 5 games with Ottawa, I think he's averaging close to 3 shots a game, and it's like 19 minutes and 30 seconds of ice time a night. So, yeah, and he's super cheap. So, I have a couple Duclair, I think I have 2 Colorado lineups, sorry. And I have Duclair and Nemesnikov pairing in there with them, because I don't like Tierney at all. I don't think he's going to do much. I think Nemesnikov and Duclair are the guys that are going to score the goals. And it helps, fit in some more expensive defensemen when I'm using the Colorado top line. So it's for me, it's the duo of Nemestikov and Duclair that I'll be using in a couple lineups tonight.
I like it. Yeah, really deep call there. I guess I kind of like the if we're going favorite value stack, I kind of like the Jenner Anderson. You hope that one of them hits the 5-shot bonus and they hook up for a goal somehow, and you get a little bit of something out of your 2-man stack there. Real quick before we sign off here, actually, do you have anything left on the Ottawa Dallas game?
Nope, that's it for me. Other than Eric Brandstrom, watch his ice time. He's not getting a lot. I know people might want to jam him in because he's on the second power play unit, but he's not getting a ton of ice. So, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Want to mention the giveaway once again. Retweet, like, and reply with the player who scores the most fantasy points on tonight's Monday Night Football game. Patriots Jets. It'll give you a reason to watch it if you're not playing Showdown. If you are playing Showdown, We have tools and ownership and projections and rankings and all that stuff. So go check that out on the site. Read Emac's article. He does a great job, consolidating all the information you need before that game starts. And that is a free article. So go reward Emac for his hard work. What else do we got here? NBA DFS content. If you've been watching our show the last few weeks and just waiting for NBA, we've got the content schedule out, and there is a promo code, NBA Early Bird, for $100 off the season NBA package. So I think that's a pretty good deal. You might want to take advantage of that if you're looking to sign up for an Awesemo Plus NBA package. The content looks crazy good this season, and it's all your favorite guys: Laffy, Adam, Fast Eddie, Emac, Spags. I'm forgetting a bunch of guys, so sorry if any of the NBA guys are watching and feel left out. But there's too many to name. A lot of good stuff. Nolan and I will be back tomorrow breaking down. I think we've got a pretty big Tuesday slate. Cliffy, thanks for joining, man. That was a pretty fun first show. Looks like the rave reviews are pouring in.
Oh, thankful, because I'm not very good with criticism. So everybody, please be nice to me.
Yeah, and feel free to give us likes. Helps us look good, and directly and indirectly, it helps us look good, mostly in front of the bosses. But feel free to give us a like on the way out. And good luck tonight, guys. See you tomorrow.
Good luck.